A very good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to today's edition of The Agenda. My name is Dr Job, your host. Tonight on the show we are joined by Simon Amunime, who until recently was the spokesperson of the Affirmative Repositioning movement, and he and another activist of that movement, Paulus Kathanga, have been in the press following a very heated meeting by the movement at the coast. Simon, thank you for being on the show tonight.
Toivo, thank you very much for having me, and greetings to the viewers.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So let's talk about first your status in the movement. You are no longer the spokesperson. What are you in the AR movement?
I remain an activist of the AR movement because these things of position just came recently.
Yeah.
See, the movement started back in 2014.
Yeah.
But there was no position known by then to say maybe Master Dino Yoma is a SG, doctor is a what, and those things. So there was never an issue about, because the nature of activism doesn't really require you to have a position for you to be able to execute or perform. So we never sanction. Usually when I just wake up, I see an injustice in society, you mobilize, you revolt, or you assist. If I go to a Chinese shop and confront, you are never sanctioned by the movement. You identify the need from where you are, and you participate in terms of seeing how do you assist those that are in need and those that cannot help themselves. So I remain a disciplined activist of the AR movement, and we look forward to growing the movement forward. So it has never been about the position. It was mainly just a responsibility that we're given.
Yeah.
Like in the house, they said today you are going to be cooking, or you are responsible for having the TV remote for that specific week. But that doesn't prevent you from continuing when you are no longer having the remote of the TV.
Yeah.
You can still continue.
Yeah.
That's the status quo.
Sure. Reflect a bit on the events that led to you vacating that position. There are conflicting versions. One version is that you were suspended. Your principals in the movement say there was never anything like that, that you simply threw your toys out of the court and say, no, we're going to, there was no suspension, apparently. Which version is correct?
Yeah, Toivo, I think what is important to note is that there is no way or basis to suspend someone that never subscribed to membership or to a particular constitution or policy documents or whatsoever. See, I was appointed in 2020, I think around September there. The leadership approached me even before that, I think from 2018. Then I've always rejected and said, no, I'm in student politics, I'm serving students. That's too big for me now, I'm not ready. Till the guys of DE here and come to convince me. Then I decided, okay, fine, I'll come. The guy said we needed reinforcement, we needed a new image in terms of someone to be going out there, mobilize young people. Then I took up that challenge, I became part of it. That was done at the press conference to say, Master Amunime is now spokesperson. There's no appointment letter, there's nothing. I've not subscribed to any document of the movement. There's no constitution. And so forth. That what brings us now back when you say are you suspended? You can't, because when you suspend someone is based on contravening maybe a particular section of the constitution, or because I've not done that. Then they then said we are relieved of our duty. That's why I never went to say no, I'm not relieved and those things. No, it's normal, because in every setting, organization or family, there will always be conflicts, there will always be differences, there will always be tension. Because of course you are a human being, the people are bound to make mistakes, we exist to learn from each other. Those things will always happen there. So we're shown the door at that particular gathering in Valves Bay. We never complained. We went to confirm to the media that yes, indeed, we're released, and we are not going to fight about it because we are not defined by those particular responsibilities that we've been given. As activists, we still continue to do that. But what I can confidently confirm and says that I'm no longer the spokesperson of the movement, and I don't dispute it. They have their reasons for doing that. And of course, it's now that we have challenged the leader of the organization. And I have no regret whatsoever. And I take full responsibility for what I did, and I'm unapologetic about it. And that's what it is. Sometimes marriages don't work, you go separate ways. Sometimes it's not divorce, you just separate for wind to come by. After 6 months, you come back and say, no, those things can be done away. We can now continue to forge ahead. Yeah, so there's no really dispute with regard to that. I'm relieved of my duty. I'm no longer a spokesperson, but I remain an activist of the AR movement.
Now fill me in on your quarrel, confrontation, or whatever you want to call it, with the activist in chief, Dr. Job Amupanda. What is it that you did that angered him so much that somehow it was possible for the eventual result of that anger to be you being relieved of your duties?
You see, Toivo, I think I've matured over the years. When I've been in this activism, you meet different politicians. That platform was created for me. You meet the likes of Makendri Venani, Dr. Itula, Kawandeng, and we're those radical kids that could just disrupt and do everything like that. But you learn along the process, because maturity is not only by growing beards or becoming big. Also politically you mature. So there have been a crisis in the AR movement. Perhaps that's not what we are not telling the people. It's not just about now. This has been a crisis that has been a long time coming. We participated in the 2020 regional and local government election, where we performed very poorly. Of course, we had AR Windhoek registered Valves by in Swakopmund. And in those particular towns, even on the ballot, Toivo, it's Job's face that is there. Not the AR logo, he put his face. Windhoek, same. Swakop, same. We participated in Windhoek and we only got 2 seats. Valves and Swakopmund got 0, meaning we poorly performed in that whole election. But the mistake that we must maybe admit that we did as a collective list to take power through a back door. We got 2 seats out of 15, then we became mayor. People had the expectation of us, of course, as the organization, as the movement that started mobilizing society as back as 2014 for the land question and the restoration of people's dignity. We took power, we became mayor, but we did nothing out of that. So that discussion then came there to say that we only have 2 seats. The activist in chief, you are a national leader. How do we then just confine you to a locality where you are just going to be in a municipal council of Windhoek? How are you then going to provide leadership to Katima? How are you going to provide leadership if the town council of Shakati is corrupt? Then there was then the idea to say that the other activists must go, then he can provide oversight from outside and guidance in terms of what must happen. That was in principle. We said since he campaigned with the slogan of the incoming mayor, maybe it will be unjust just to say that he doesn't come in. We say he must go in for 12 months, there's a rotation, he goes off, we give over to other parties such as IPC or so forth because it was rotation. He comes off as mayor, then we are ordinary. Then when we are ordinary, we send other activists, for example, George and D, to go into the chamber, to go and also provide leadership there and also give the ideas and so forth in terms. So that's what brought the problem. The men refused to leave the chamber, and the argument is to say that you can't be an ordinary councillor while you are head of an organization. You see, even an old man like Lucado, he has a seat in Katima, but he's not there. He has put someone else because as a leader of an organization, you are going to leave us wounded. So that participation of us going into leadership through a back door brought serious problem into the movement, because Toivo, as activists, you've always known us that we mobilize, protest, even when Honorable Kaungo was there, Kadapa was there, you do those things. Now one of your own is there. There's no land that is being provided. There's no services that is being provided. People don't have water, people don't have electricity, people don't have running toilets. Those are issues that we are confronted every day. But you can't take it up and go and protest and go to the city if one of your own is there. But it's there, but it's not delivering on that. And I don't believe him because he has no absolute power to do that. It's in an arrangement and setup of a coalition. So the best thing was to remove him. He provide guidance and oversight from outside. Then he can call the councillor that are inside to order. So that's what brought all this problem in the movement. D said he can't continue with some of this responsibility because of that, and so forth. So that's what brought the initial problem in the movement. So I had a different opinion on that, to say, I don't agree with you to continue as being a councillor there. One is that you are also formally employed at the University of Namibia. The co-councillor there, Honorable Else Keister, is also employed by the Public Service Social Security Commission. Now you have been with these guys of Dimbulkweni, Noyoma and George since 2014. They've surrendered themselves, they've sacrificed their careers and education. Yet these guys cannot get jobs. They are disowned by some of their family members. So activism is a very expensive exercise. And activism, Toivo, does not mean that you must just be there. You need to eat, you need to bath, you need to even help your mother with a $50 at home in terms of here to put the electricity. So we're saying, since there's an allowance there at the city, and you guys assist with a lot of responsibility at work, because when you are lecturing, you can lecture until 9 o'clock. When do you get time to go to the community? All of them don't go. They can't go to Okanja Park, you can't go to Greenwell, you can't go to Okuranga, you can't go to One Nation. So yours is just to attend council meetings and collect allowances. It's unfair, it's unjust. Let's give these guys that have time along the whole day to go there. When there's no council meeting, they are busy in the community assisting and see how can we help our community. So it was on that basis. Unfortunately, I was not happy. And that's what probably brought a tension between me and the doctor. But principles remain principles, because when I associated myself to the AR movement, I did not associate to the AR movement because of an individual. I associated because of the ideological grounding, the philosophical outlook, and the fundamental principle of the movement, which we are saying is to deliver land to our people, restoring the dignity of our people, as well as economic freedom in our lifetime. Now, Toivo, it doesn't mean when you're an activist or when you agitate for poor people, you must join people in poverty. Doesn't say like that. Of course. Yes, so there must then be always a formula and a way of how do your guys survive around it, and how do you also empower them, because you must rise by uplifting others. So that was the basis, and there's nothing to do with rotation. These people have now phrased it to say it's apparently grazing rotation or rotational grazing, something like that. So what you are basically saying is that a guy like George or a guy like D must be scavenging after the food that the doctor throws to his dogs when they are full. That's literally what you are saying. Because it's not about the stomach. These guys have been doing it since 2014 without getting money. You go and sell. I go to Nankali and sell a goat because me and Pao needed the money to use for petrol to go to Chita Cement to confront the Chinese there. So you put in your own resources, you put in your time, you put in this sacrifice. So what is wrong with saying the little that is there giving to the person? Because the person is already seized with those particular duties. So there is nothing like that, and it's not personal. It's just a principled decision that I took.
Now, the issue of rotation has brought a lot of interpretations. Some people are saying, so these guys are just about money now. You mentioned, you explained it very well there to say, look, you need to survive also. In this struggle, you pursue justice, but you shouldn't neglect yourself, which I think is a fair point. But it has also then come across as a scramble for resources to say, now, Job, you have served, go, Elsie, go, let George or Simon come through, and then maybe after 12 months, Simon leaves, Pau comes in, and. Because obviously once you put the rotation in motion, it means then that it must remain so. It must remain in motion for the remainder of the terms, meaning that those that come this year must also leave. And it doesn't give, some argue, it doesn't give a very good perception of the movement and as activists that, they are just in for the dollar. How do you clarify that kind of perception?
Yes, of course, that whole thing was derived from the letter that I co-authored with activist Papa Kathanga. And people want to be very selective. The letter was very clear. to say that we must allow other activists to go and serve.
Yeah.
Serve so that they can also show their leadership at the city. Okay, so they can bring new ideas and build new relations. Of course, we can see the relationship between our activist in chief and the other council is broken. He can't work with IPC. They had issues with LPM, with SWAPO. It has always been Southwest Africa. So we were saying, let's usher in new activists to go in the chamber. You come out, focus on building the organization ground up. Because the organization must not be window-centered or social media based. Come out, the two of you, focus on your formal jobs and maybe perhaps on weekends, make time to grow the movement. Let's go and back and mobilize society and return to the ground while we get the other pioneering activists also to go there. Because it must never be about an individual to evil. D, for example, is one of the formidable activists of the AR movement. He have went to school, he have been around, he's well groomed, was in the youth league, which is the same for George. We're saying let these activists go there, but that was an internal communication. Also to say that since we're an organization that has no funding, we fund the AR activities with our own resources, with money from our angles and so forth. Since there's no funding in terms of our activities in the movement, these colleagues that are also struggling here can also then be afforded an opportunity for them to, at least to be motivated to continue with activism. Because there's nothing romantic about poverty, Toivo. So you can call and say, Simon, come and help me, I'm in Babylon, but I don't have tickets to put to come to the informal settlement. How do I do that? So there must always be motivation in whatever you do. If you play football, you get paid. That's why at the council itself level, there's an allowance. Those people don't volunteer there. Mayor gets over 40,000 for just being there to chair meetings. An ordinary councillor gets over 35,000. That's a lot of money. So if you bring that to somebody, that person can come and they can use it even to fuel cars in terms of going to the informal settlement. So the motivation is not about money. And I think those that wants to view it like that, of course, it's from their side. But I think the guys, the activists has proven beyond reasonable doubt that it's not about money, because they've been doing these things without any reward. They have been getting arrested. They've been making sacrifice without getting anything out of it. But to say someone now must get something, then you complain and say, no, his stomach. But when they were defending you, when your check is being mobilized, you don't say, no, this guy is like this. Or when they just come like that. So really, it's not a motivation of money. It was just on the basis to see the little resources that you have. When you're SRCs or when you are in Canvas as student leaders, usually get an allowance. You get an allowance to say that, or from your rebate, your tuition fee, you get maybe 40% from it. Because management understand that you are going to be missing your classes, your tests, and your nights that were supposed to be to saving others. So there must always be something for you. So it's not really that you must get money for that. Money was never a motivation, but it's a factor. Yeah, because it was not a factor. Those councillors, if you just say here today that all of them must donate whatever they get there, if it's also have nothing to do with the money, why don't, for example, all councillors donate? Or let me say ours, I cannot impose on others. If you get 35,000, donate all of it to the movement. Then the movement can now say, okay, Master Dimbu, we are getting 300 for always helping the movement. Or we are buying a bus for the movement, or we are doing that. So there's always some sort of reward for your time that you spend there and things like that. But it's never a motivation, but of course it's a factor.
Absolutely. We go for a quick break and return.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
For news-related or advertising queries, contact irongotalk@synergy.com.na. Irongo Talk, our community, your news.
We return we continue rather our conversation with Simon Amunime here. Now, Simon, I'm actually very surprised that you seem to be still grounded in your association with the movement, because I think a lot of people thought you would have jumped ship and whatnot. So I think it's commendable that I mean, it says a lot about you as a person, that indeed it's not about positions. You remain a member, and you are happy to be an ordinary activist, and so forth. But how much of this conversation took place internally before it eventually surfaced? Because we have been getting small feelers as a media that not all was well within AR. And then there was a time when Dr. Amupanda sort of preempted this commotion by going to social media and saying, you know, there are some people within the movement that are causing trouble, but they will get their 5 minutes of fame. I think those were paraphrased his words. So then when I saw that, as someone who already knew that something was not right, I wasn't too sure what it is. But when that came through, I knew that it was confirming my suspicions, and then it eventually surfaced. I'm just wondering how much of this discontent that you contained in that letter was discussed internally before you arrived to a decision to say, look, now it's time to. In fact, that letter was also not an open letter. It was written, but it got leaked.
Yeah, it got leaked.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, of course, I think there is I think one of the greatest revolutionaries, I think, is Amilcar Cabral. He tells us that tell no lies, and you must expose lies when they are told. He says we must mask no difficulty and must claim no easy victories. So, of course, those things have been happening there. That's why even in that particular letter, I said lies have short legs. Yeah. And I was looking to address that. Issues are not new. If you look, I personally took a decision in December 2021. I called doctor himself there at my residence in Kadutora. Then I explained to him that I'm not happy with the modus operandi of how things are moving. It's either we change or things are not going to be fine. I had a personal conversation with him because, of course, you don't just go and do those things. I took a decision and told him that the year 2022, I'm not going to step my foot at the AR office headquarters. I've went to school, I have a family to feed, I'm a professional and I'm an ambitious young man that must also provide for my family. I can't be volunteering at this age at an office like that. I don't know, maybe they were not happy. Then from there, of course, just like it's told that tell no lies, you must expose lie. Fabrication started on my name that I abandoned the AR headquarters because I ran away with money. Some are saying I was domesticated by a woman in the north. Some are saying my parents are in Swapo, I'm compromised. So they begin to isolate me through propagandas and lies. That is that, but it's a principled decision that I've taken. You teach at the university every day. Else Keister teacher works at Social Security. Kavetu works for Crane, and they work for the same state that we are made to fight. They work for the public service, and every day we must be the one confronting during our time and not being busy at work. So I said, no, this is not correct. And of course, I'm going to look for employment and I'm going to assist the movement. But those lies never stop. They keep going. Then I've been looking for the leadership. Of course, the structure was not functional. There's no meetings that take place. We don't go for caucuses. It's just something that is there. I've wrote several emails. I've tried to contact him. There's even an extent where I had to go and look for him at his house, where he stays. That's how serious it was. Because I don't take lightly people that comes to defame your name with things that they've not done. Because where I come from, I don't steal. I don't do those things. Yeah, so that's where the trouble started. And it's not just about me. Perhaps what the people are not telling the public, it's not just about Simon. There's an aspect of other guys like D, George, and many others. D wrote a communication to say that I'm not going to be this Secretary Officer of Political Education, because the guy is fed up. Why is the guy fed up? He have sacrificed his life in this movement. There's nothing for him. He have tried to go into business. It's just maybe also our journalists are weak. They don't follow the sequence of events. There was a time that the movement distanced themselves from the business of DNA, which is PGSN, I think, if I'm speaking under correction. Why will the movement come and issue statement distancing themselves from a private entity? So if I own a bar in Okurangava, so the movement must come and say we distance ourselves from Simon's bar. It's because you are fighting somebody. They can't get jobs. They are trying to go into business. You are fighting them. Coming to the protest when the guys were arrested, we went in solidarity. The movement released a communication saying they never sanctioned it. They are distancing themselves from it. I'm the spokesperson. I've never received those. I just see it on social media, which tells you things were not fine. So people were not happy. Of course, power corrupts sometimes, they say, and it also changes people. Doctor have not been the same ever since he was sworn into the council of the city. Perhaps you guys are friends, you go for a bottle maybe at 6 to 9 sometimes. I ask you, when was the last time that you have seen Dr. Amupanda leading a protest when he was sworn in? When did you see Dr. Amupanda in an informal settlement or just somewhere with the community after he became mayor? Nowhere. He's no longer an activist, he has become a politician. So he became comfortable. He's in the air-conditioned offices, he dines with them, he's become part of them now. So that's why, but they've given us a good orientation to say that once they are not eating with you, must put sand into their food. He told us so. Everything we are doing is from the doctor. So we are doing exactly that. We need to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
He have abandoned the struggle.
Yeah.
We are not giving land to our people. You are in council every day, you are fighting. So we must be cleaning after every day. I have to fight Nekongo, insult him, fight Dr. Itula in protection of you. But what are you doing there? You are failing us and we are inheriting enemies that are not even ours. So if we, the closest people to you, can't tell you that you are heading in the wrong direction, no one will come from Mozambique and say, hey, doctor, you have lost it, go this way. No, doctor have land in Vendukese house, we don't have houses. Doctor has a job. Doctor is well. Perhaps now he lives like an elite. That's what we are saying. Our struggle is not yet attained in terms of the land question and restoring the dignity of our people. That's why we are not happy with the modus operandi in terms of what is happening. Doctor was there, the city only meeting ambassadors, strategic meetings and so forth. Toivo, you yourself, you know the residents of Windhoek were occupying land there in Ochomise. They were occupying land in Kwanangobe there, in Tobias Anyeko. Doctor couldn't go there. We have to run. All of them were scared there in the offices, there the chamber. No, we can't go there, they will beat us. We have to take that bullet. I went with activist D. Pau Pau there in Kwanangobe to go and address and give assurance to the masses there of the informal settlement that we sympathize with you. The land question has to be attained and no one must demolish your share. We even had to confront the police. At least there we saw Councillor Kaungu was there on the ground and even Dr. Itola was there with some white people filming. At least we appreciate they came on the ground. Why can you not go to the ground and provide moral leadership to the people? You started or you came to prominence through this land question. Now when people are occupying land, you are nowhere. Where there's those conflicts in the location, you are nowhere. We must be and we must be happy praising you. When we were campaigning to even the informers, we were saying, you see that guy Job, it's very good. If he goes there, all of us will get earth. Now people come back and say, hey, Kanepol, what is happening? You have to go in the house hiding sometimes. People are hunting you. So it's on that basis that we begin to question. So the public must never create an impression to say we are fighting. We are not fighting, we are questioning. When things are not right, Toivo, you question that things are not right. We couldn't allow doctor to go at that trajectory. As a young man, he's bound to make mistakes, but we are there to guide him correctly that what you are doing is not correct. And the city is a mess. And all of us can attest to that. Nothing positive is coming from the city. So those are some of the really issues that brought these differences within the movement. We differed on a lot of stuff and we thought that we have lost focus and we have also lost focus. It was too much with the officials, the ambassadors, but our struggle, because if you even go just back, look maybe at interviews, council meeting where you address, the word land have disappeared in his vocabulary.
What word is it? Land.
Land. It's either we speak about bicycle lanes or we speak about parks, we speak about those things. Those things are not priority to us. Must give people land We must give them toilets, we must give them electricity and those things, not those strategic things that don't bear results. So we differed on principle, and we still stand by it.
Yeah. Tell me, Kanepolo, and please set the record straight. You know, as we started getting curious about where these divisions were emanating from, I came across information that you in particular were receiving some money from, I think, Job Ampanda's monthly salary from the city of Windhoek when he was mayor, and that once his mayorship ended, obviously he lost a bit of income also, and then he also then cut the tap to your pocket. Then you got
Bitter.
very salty about that. What can you say about that?
I've heard it various times. Then I've challenged people. I was appointed in 2020. We're not mayor. We're not in council. I was doing this thing for free of charge. In fact, not free of, I even put in my own resources to do that. I went at NAST, got some student intern there to formalize the office, and they will be assisting me, and the organization was gaining shape. So of course, those narratives have been pushed to say the guy is bitter and so, but even in the meeting that happened in Valvespai, I challenge, we live now in an automated world. You must not just make accusations, just provide proof. I bring my bank account, doctor bring his bank account and say there's this transaction that was going every month from doctor to Amunime, or was it done through envelope, like the old days, envelope. There's nothing like that. Doctor, I even confronted him. Then he denied those allegations that have been appearing on his payroll and so forth. And even the statement of the organization have been made public in that submission that we wrote. I don't know who leaked it. They make a contribution. Doctor make a contribution of 10,500. Else Kester make a contribution of 16,000. The office, you paid how much? 20,000. There is a 6,000 remaining, which goes to the administrator of the office, who someone that is close to doctor, is the neighbor from his village. How do you say now I get money? Now go in the books of the, because why must you contribute money and go and contribute money behind? Why can you not, if there's a contribution that comes from the city, contribute 20,000, then from that money, it indicates that this money goes to Kanepolo, this one goes to this one goes to, so out of all people, doctor just love Kanepolo out of everybody and start giving me money, beside everyone else. So there's nothing like that. Of course, there was a commitment that he said is going to make from his allowance, which is 7,000. That 7,000 is intended for what was called the AR City of Windhoek caucus. So that 7,000 was for the caucus. We have how many? We have interns there. I think there were around 4. Now that is money that you use for activities around that. We're running programs in the society. You have interns that you pay. There's coffee in the office on that basis. There's nothing like that. So if there's anyone that's saying I've been receiving money, they must show money coming from doctor's account to my account. I've never received anything of that nature. So those are just lies. And of course, they have nothing to tell. The differences or whatever is happening between me and doctor, I begin to question the doctor and say, look, doctor, you inspire me a lot. I look up to you. But can you just explain to me this little thing? You are an activist in chief of the movement. Who appointed you? Or who endorsed you? Or where was the agreement? If so, I'm fine, but why don't you have a deputy? Why don't you make D maybe your deputy and George as SG? Why do you do that? Why do you start with people in leadership and you just want to elevate and push everyone else as far? George was given some position, apparently head of AR kitchen, so he must be cooking there in special program. D was given to be head of political education, so D must be the one getting arrested, go there to the sheikhs and be dealing with the people, be doing those things. George was crying, saying that I want to be the head of administration and operation. The man does not want. He baptized himself as an induna. Induna is Muse chief. You baptize yourself as an induna and everyone else must be like your subject. So I did not agree with that because organization must be democratic. So we must be democratic and also there must be consensus. You cannot just make yourself an head, you don't, but you are relegating everyone else to those positions. You must value and appreciate people. So I begin to question those things. But there's no answers. For example, guys like I've the head of legal, I say, where are you getting those things? You just announce tomorrow there is a head of legal, there is head of... It must be a democratic process. We had a document called Revolutionary Guide. That document even speaks that we must set up branches first. When you set up branches, then those branches elect districts. After district regions, then national, then they come elect a national. You don't start up by appointing yourself. You cannot even do any groundwork. Then who are you leading? Where are your branches? Who are your masses? Who have elected? Who is giving you mandate? So that's the problem, because for an organization to live Toivo, an individual must die. And when I say individual must die, it's not to shoot the person. I'm speaking about the modus operandi and the organizational culture in terms of how decisions are taken, the powers they collect, because everyone must be a subordinate to the organization. No one must be bigger than it. But now if you just hear, Doctor tweeted something at you now, this AR leader did this. There's no distinction between the movement and Doctor himself. If Doctor just said, I woke up and today I'm having cappuccino and not tea, and screenshot and put on his status and distribute, then all those activists start sharing on their status, sharing, things that have nothing to do with you. So it's dangerous to have a personality cult if you don't have some sort of a proper ordinary manner how the organization must be run. And I raised those questions to say, even me, I was appointed unfairly. Can we go on the ground, have a democratic process, elect people? Maybe we want George to be the activist in chief. So that type of induna leadership style, it can only work in the village because people are from the same tribe. But when you have people, AR have people from different background. You find Hereros, you find Yang, you find Vambus, you find Damaras, you find Caprivians. So an induna will not be able to lead like that. You must be elected, and you must not practice that type of leadership where you must just enforce things on. So if I tell you, just here there's a protest on Wednesday, mobilize people in there, where are those decisions taken? We must be able as a collective to come, because leadership is a group project. We must be able to come on the table and say A plus B plus C, D, this is the direction we are taking. It doesn't happen. Even those that are there, they already, Doctor have told us when he was in the youth league, I used to follow his politics, he warned us about the general zombie tendency. That you must not just follow blindly, you don't question, you just, it's exactly what he's doing. So all those colleagues of ours, they just hear Job say something, then they follow. It's even worse now, it's not general anymore, it's specific zombie tendency. Because they become henchers, they just follow like that. So once you associate and join an organization, it must be on the principles. It must be on its ideology. It must be on its philosophical outlook in terms of what you want to add. Because individuals comes and go, but organization must remain. So, if Doctor just decide today that he's going back to the youth league, what is going to happen to us if it's about an individual? Or Doctor get appointed today as a Minister of Education. So we can't fight the system anymore because one of us is on the system. You can't. That is on the basis where that happens. So it has nothing to do with the money. There's nothing like that in terms of bit. I have 3 degrees now. I'm finishing the 4th one. Why must I be? I run successful businesses. I've got the knowledge from school. I'm a consultant. I can come and fix these equipments here of Namibian Sun. So I'm not angry. Even things of the city, I've never said I can Apollo want to go to the chamber. I was speaking to these guys that are struggling. So there's nothing like that.
We go for another break and then return for the last part of the show.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
We continue with Simon Amunime for the last part of the show. You have been, I'm assuming that you've been in contact with Dimbulukeni Nauyoma. He's incarcerated. He wrote a letter from jail where he expressed shock at your being relieved of your positions, you and Pau. What is his general attitude towards the movement at the moment, and what is happening within the movement?
You see, Toivo, activist D.
In fact, he said you must speak on his behalf, as a matter of fact.
You see, activist D is one of the most hardworking, disciplined activist of the AR movement. He got arrested on the picket lines. You see now the difference. Doctor, we've never even seen him tear gassed anywhere, or even just slapped by the police. All the revolutionaries and genuine activists are not immune to arrest and detention, because you are in that confrontation, because you stand for the truth and the people. He never does that. He's nowhere when those things are happening, and that is the difference. D is a fighter, and he's a genuine and true activist of the movement. He wrote a letter saying that going forward for legal matters, the lawyers of Caldera, Momo, Nambili, and others can speak, but on political activities and activism, Meta must be the one, and for Amushe, Kalimbo Ipumbu must speak on that. I think what we need to explain to the public and to the activists that are like this is that we already had meetings where we differed when before D got arrested. And just when they got arrested, doctor brought some documents called these interim guidelines that then started legitimizing this structure that suspended us, appointing people from the regions, and those inner things that they are referring to. Those, you see, in Swapo they say Helmut Angula amendments. Maybe this one we said Omalala's guidelines or amendments, things like that. So, Toivo, timing is important. Why are you adapting frameworks or instruments in terms of formalizing, in terms of disciplining people, in terms of giving people structures and appointments and power once one of your own is in prison? Why are you doing it? It's because you have ulterior motives to it. AR started in 2014. Now it's 2022. There was January this year, February, March, April. Why did you not adapt them at the beginning of the year as your program of action going forward? You did as a reactionary method because you want to deal with those that you see as your threat maybe to existence, or they can challenge you somehow in the future. That's the problem that we have. They adapted these documents in the absence of D. But if you say, no, the movement program cannot come to an end because someone is in prison. No, the programs continue. We are speaking about documents that are giving shape. They've appointed 14 regional chair. They've appointed every region is a chairperson, and those regional chairs have assembled some team of 14 people. So when D comes out, you find a fully fledged organization with structures that are operational. Where is he going to fit? Why must it be done in the absence of him? So, but the argument they are using is that no, it's not about founder anymore, the organization have grown. But you started 2014. LPF came after that. IPC came after that. They have structures. Why have you not done it and formalized along those years? Or why did you not do it last year when you were mayor? Or do it those months before they got arrested? So that is the question. For those that don't know, they are just following. So those were deliberate amendments or some guidelines that are being passed to push certain people out that are questioning the doings of the doctors. That's why even the guys of the DIS don't agree with those things. It's just a matter of time for them to come out, and we are going to deal with those things. That's why I'm not moved. I'm not easily shaken by those things. We have no constitution. Adapt the constitution first at Congress, then the constitution gives you power and mandate to come up with disciplinary policies, financial policy, and those things. You don't just start a draft constitution. It's doctor that brought it. Guidelines is him. Revolutionary guidelines. Where do you discuss? You just come and impose document on people. Maybe we have a different view, or we want to do other things. So it's on the basis of that, and I think the ball is in the hands of the doctor. For him really to introspect and reflect in terms of himself as a leader, if it really can self-correct, and just also come to the table and say, guys, I'm ready to repent. Let's work. Mistakes were done. Let's close the chapter. Let's move together in unison. That can be done. But yet, if he wants to fight and say that I'm going to, the same way he goes and respond to the letter, because those letter and submission was an internal letter. I don't know who leaked it. I suspect it's him, since he likes too much social media. You go and tell people that, no, those are splendid operatives that are hungry. Toivo, Job come to beg me to be a spokesperson. I said I don't want, until he convinced me otherwise. And you're calling me a splendid operative. Paupo Kathanga was the one that exposed that corruption of this fish road bribery that were offering him around 100,000. Out of principle, he brought it to the movement and said, this is what is happening, and that accused person got arrested. And you are calling people splendid operative as a leader that is at the top when there are conflict. That tells something about you, and it's really disappointing that he has to go to that stage in terms of how he handled the situation. But that can be. But it's the same doctor again that goes to press conference and take a national platform and say, we have interns in our activists doing internship in all political parties. So who's implanting people and who is planting people in your... You are literally the one that is planting people in people's organization. Because if you are saying you have activists doing internship in PDM, in SWAPO, you are implanting operatives, and people are not implanting operatives in you. You must really just understand that conflict resolution is a very important concept. We are not always going to agree. And it's not some sort of a guard that we must just say, you don't question when it's a human being like all of us. So when he's wrong, we are going to question him, and he must really be able also to come. So we talk as men and try and resolve matters. But if you go on an attack like that, it's likely me, I've joined the politics of maturity. When those things started, I never went on social media to attack or insult him and so forth, because of course I've joined now the politics of nation building, the politics of working together, of positive criticism, not name calling, insult and those things. In fact, I've warned Doctor in the letter that stop fighting everyone. When the letter come out, come and fight again on social media while I'm warning him of the same thing. Because people, when you get isolated, it's going to be very difficult. Who are you going to work with? We are fighting Itula. We are fighting SWAPO. Now you are fighting your own allies. You have PDM have washed their hands off you. Who are you going to work with?
I hear you. I have one last question for you, Simon, and it's on, you know, you seem to be passionate about these things, about politics, about activism. I mean, but at what cost? Do you have any regrets in your journey of activism to say, look, if I had known, I would have stayed away? Does that idea cross your mind, or there's that fortitude that irrespective of what your principals in the movement are going to do, you are clear on your path and you would want to? Because one of the things that you mentioned in the letter is how your association with the movement has robbed you of opportunities, life opportunities, jobs and whatnot. You have 3 degrees, you are about to get your 4th, but somehow you are being rejected, I suppose, left, right and center because of your association with the movement. Do you regret anything?
I have no regrets, Toivo. I took that decision when I was sober. I was not drunk when I did so. In fact, I tell people that I'm a product of the community. I emerged from those zones of struggle. I've known the pain. I don't do these things because someone convinced me to do it. I do it out of my own conscience. I grew up in a place where we do not have a toilet. I grew up in a place where there is no water. I grew up in a place where we sleep 6, 7 in the room. So it's those struggles that have informed my conscience to continue on their behalf. I have no regret whatsoever. And once you take that decision to participate into that political space, you are always prepared to live with the consequences. And I'm prepared to do so. But life is like that. Once bitten, twice shine. When one door closes for you, another one opens for you. We have a brain. You don't sit on your brain. You don't need just to be employed by government for you to be able to survive. We have went to school, we got skills. There's something that I can do for myself and so forth. But also we must also understand that the political climate is never static because it changes all the time. It's like the weather, and the balance of forces keep changing. For example, Dr. Hage Geingob, the differences with the founding father, he left to America and became the president one day. So the climate does not remain static, and the balance of forces will always change. So those are the dynamics. I'm confident, I'm happy, I'll continue doing, because my life is about politics, nothing else. I don't play soccer, I don't do those things. And it's about politics. Yeah. And even if I have to be a consultant and write for Toivo speeches for politicians in parliament, it's work. Doesn't mean you must just be employed by government or a formal job in the bank to do so. But that is for me. What about other activists that got involved without understanding the consequences of this? Many of them have degrees there. Some of them have went to school. Some can't even get internship. Maybe the regret that I took 3 young bright ladies from NAST to be their assistants and intern at the office. Now they are stranded. They can't register there because the last semester they must get internship. Wherever they go, just these are troublemakers. But us as the collective, as a leadership, what ideas or what provision do we have in place in making sure that we empower our people? There must be a way in terms of how we empower people. Either establish businesses, establish whatever we can do to empower those people that are close to. Even if I have to say to you, this month we contribute 500 so that this person can have a small tuck shop. Let's do that. Yes. It must not just be about ourselves, because for us we have bread at the table. The other activists go home working and there's nothing to eat. So we must find ways in terms how do we empower those activists that are following us, that believe in the struggle.
Ganebolo, it was a pleasure having you on the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, wonderful. That is Simon Amunime. He is the former spokesperson of the AR movement, talking about, of course, the events that culminated in his in his ouster from the position that he held. But he says he remains within the movement. Thank you for watching.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
3, 2, 1.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.